in this lesson, we'll retopologize the character. So for our character, we want to kind of redraw the topology on this guy, the way the edges flow. So we've subdivided this model so much to get detail up here, and we've got a lot of extra detail hanging out down here because the polygons up here initially were a little bit bigger. So I want to create more of an even distribution of geometry and create a new base. And so retopologize is going to help us to do that. So with our model selected here, we want to go up to Mesh, retopologize, and we'll create a new operation. And we'll just call this something like imp topology. And it's going to create a new piece of geometry named this. You can change that if you want. It's going to have our target base face count, so the number of faces that we want to shoot for on our base, and also the face uniformity. We've got on one side uniform size and then an optimized. And so I'm going to just come in here somewhere in the middle. We can also choose to drive our retopology operation based on curves that we've created. And so with this active, I'm going to just move it off to the side here. I can go to the curve tools, and for instance, I could go to curve loop. And on the plane, I'm going to set this to free. And then mirroring, I can set that to X. And now I can click 2 points, and it'll create a closed loop across my mesh based on whatever plane that I've selected. So now it's created one on the wrist there. I can go ahead and create one sort of on the elbow. Okay, and we can right click on these curves to make them a hard constraint or a soft constraint. A soft constraint will kind of guide the retopology process to go in a specific way defined by your curve, whereas a hard constraint will actually make an edge where you have chosen to add that curve. We can come up here to create curve, and we can start to add some curves up here, and we can come in here and kind of continue that down. Oops, let me undo that. Let me go ahead and change. Oh, I know what's wrong. I think my tolerance is probably set a bit too high. So let me take that tolerance down a little bit. And let's turn off snapping. And so there I can come in and kind of connect up these curves. And then I can choose whether to make that a hard or soft constraint. Let me connect up this one on this side. Again, making that a soft constraint. If you want to have some hard edges in there, you can do that as well. I could come in and sort of draw across here. And let me turn off mirroring for a second. And I'll make that a soft constraint as well. I can get it selected there. Okay, we'll just make that a soft constraint. Oops, let me go back in here instead of closing that out. I want to keep that open. All right, and we want to transfer our sculpted detail to our new retopologized mesh. So we want to make sure that that's checked. If we have sculpt layers or paint layers, we can choose to transfer those as well, or freezing and posing information. So once we get to this point, let's go ahead and choose to retopologize. And it's just going to go through a process of creating a new topology for this mesh. So it's actually going to create a new mesh with that name that we've chosen here, and it'll keep our old mesh untouched. So if we need to go back and reference that, we can certainly do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this think and go through its process here. We'll come back in just a second when that finishes up. Okay, so now it's finished. It's given us a little message of the new base count for the faces. And you can see I have a new object here which is visible whereas the old one has been hidden. So you may be able to see a little bit of the change in the topology here, where now we have this geometry running around the eyes, which is kind of a little bit more what we want. Now it's not an exact operation where if you wanted to put your points in an exact location, this hasn't done that. It's just giving us a little bit of a cleaner model to work from and giving us a little bit more of a clean distribution of polygons here up on the head. Okay, so I can now dial this up to our upper level here. Okay, and now we're down to 3 million, but we have a lot more resolution in here to work with along the face here. So I can come in here and start to now add new detail on this new calculated mesh, and you can see that we don't have a lot of the faceting that we had before up here, and so we're able to now add a little bit more of that detail in here. Let me make that bag a little bit smaller there, or I'm sorry, bigger. We could come in also and kind of flatten out some of that detail, and I really want to come in and add some kind of detail coming in down under the mouth there as well. Let's also, in the nose, I want this to be sort of a raised whole area inside here. So let's go ahead and just kind of flatten that out. You can also use scrape, kind of flatten out the front part of the nose there. Continue to add a little bit of detail. And now, again, we're working on the new mesh that we've created new topology for. Again, just a nice automatic, quick way of recalculating the topology that you're working with to give you a little bit better result. But if you had another application, you could also take it out into that application and do some retopology on it there and bring that new geometry in. All right, so from here we can just kind of continue sculpting. So let's, in the next lesson, come in and add a little bit more detail on the rest of the body here. So we need to come in along the neck and sort of the chest area, add just a little bit of detail, have a little bit more fun doing that before we move on to adding additional geometry like the teeth and the rest of the set. So we'll go ahead and do that in the next lesson.